Hey everybody, it's Josh. Absolutely gorgeous day. I was listening to a sermon by Pastor Voddie Baucham. I recommend you all check him out. I listen to him almost daily. But he was doing a sermon and he was talking about redemption of God. And he says something along the lines of, is it okay if you are in the midst of slavery and God leaves you in slavery? If it's not, then you don't understand what redemption is. Is it okay if you're a single man or woman and God never gives you a spouse? That's not okay. You don't understand what redemption is. Is it okay if you are redeemed and God leaves you in a bad marriage? Got a boat over there. If not, then you don't understand what redemption is. And he goes through many different situations. Are we redeemed when we are sick and he leaves us sick and disabled? If that's not okay, then we don't understand what redemption is. I seem to get the feeling that most people go searching for God because they believe it's going to be some charmed life. But they don't really believe it. They're like, is God the genie that I'm gonna rub that lamp and get my 3 wishes from? Am I gonna get so many blessings? I'm gonna have some charmed life? No. God is not here to redeem us from really the struggles of this world, the suffering in this world. He might not. He has a specific plan for us, and it's up to us whether we surrender to him and get the fulfillment, unconditional love, and the peace that comes from having a relationship with the creator of the universe. No, suffering is pretty much mandatory. It doesn't matter what sort of follower of the way you are. You can be a born-again Christian like I am, a warrior of peace, a servant of Christ. You can be just a standard follower. You go through and you honor Christ and you give thanks to him. But it does not consume your life. You haven't surrendered your life. You're still holding on to the things in this world. And that's what most Christians are just Christians in name only. They don't understand it because their eyes have not been open. Their eyes have not been open because to have your eyes open, you must suffer. And we think, surely God's going to give me a wife or a husband, right? Surely God is not going to leave me with a husband or wife who might be completely the antithesis of everything we are trying to do on our mission with God. No, that's part of your mission with God. You might see that you can't lead everyone to Christ, and you can't. A very, very small minority of people you can lead to Christ. But if you are let's say, married to someone or dating someone, and they see that shift in you. Here he comes. Here he comes, this beauty. They see that peace in you. At the very least, you're going to pique their interest. Now, they're probably going to have a selfish interest in it, saying, how do I get that peace while still holding on to the things of comfort in my life? How do I hold on to, or how do I achieve that peace and get some wealth or some power to go along with it? All the things that our animalistic side desires, our unevolved side, the side that is just part of the chaos that has been created here, the corruption. I was blessed more than most, despite my intense suffering through the years. I was blessed with a wife that I knew stayed with me, not because of money, not because of looks, not because of anything really physical in this world. She stays with me because I am loyal to her, and we went through the hardest times together. I'm sure many of you who are married in a relationship for a long time understand this, because that is the test of a relationship in a marriage. That is the ultimate test. Are one of you going to leave, or both of you going to leave, when times get tough, when it seems like there's no hope at all? And really, there's many songs and many ideas out there that people think that staying in a relationship that is just going through nightmarish situations is cowardly. In a way, I thought I was cowardly for a long time, because it's obvious this isn't working, because life is falling apart. So of course you got to blame somebody, so you start blaming it on the person closest to you or the people closest to you. But no, I am thankful that I got past that stupid idea there, that somehow it was everyone else making my life miserable, not me. Not me. It couldn't be me. Wasn't me, right? Going through the inferno is sometimes the only way to see the truth. As I keep saying, you must walk through hell to get through heaven. I'm going to go out here a little bit closer to this beautiful day on the lake. Maybe you can see some fish jumping behind me, or hawks screaming. There we go. If you feel like the only way that God is paying attention to you or loving you is if he's taking you out of your suffering, then you're just in it for a selfish reason. Because let me tell you something. God's not going to take you out of the situations you're in, but God transforms that suffering for you. I've told you all many times, I have not suffered once. once since the day I was born again. Since the day God saved me, since the day I was redeemed. And I've been in almost constant pain, sometimes horrible pain, because of my back injury, my damaged nerve in my right sciatic nerve in my leg. So that pain is constant. The pain is there all the time. But that's not the pain that really gets you. It starts there a lot of times, but the pain that gets you is the spiritual pain. The lack of hope, the lack of purpose. So I've had 2 really big deaths in my family since I've been saved. And God soothed my grief through it. So I was able to soothe my wife's grief when her mother passed, suddenly and tragically. I was able to lift my parents up as they are suffering in horrible situations, and help my dad understand, because I think my dad had been losing his faith. He was a very faithful man his whole adult life. But I think he was starting to think that he was cursed. That everything was happening to him because he was cursed. And of course, that's not going to strengthen your faith in God, is it? No, that's going to make it... You're going to be angry with God if you start thinking that way. You're going to be very angry with God. But I was able to help him see. He'd already read the book of Job. Here he comes again. I love my Lord. He'd read the book of Job. I pointed out there isn't one figure in the Bible who wasn't suffering in some crazy way. So where do we get this idea that God's going to shower us with gifts and with all this stuff in the material world? God does not give a damn about the material world except for trying to redeem his people in it. He doesn't give a damn whether you have a nice house or a nice car or tons of money in your bank account. What he cares about is getting you to a place where you see that doesn't matter at all. It does not matter one bit. How do we get to that place? We've grown up in this fallen world, this sick world. How do we get to that place where it doesn't matter anymore? It doesn't matter if you're in poverty. It doesn't matter if you're even sick, dying maybe. It doesn't matter. Because you are filled with the Holy Spirit and the love of God. And you're like, well, Christ, he went around healing everybody, so shouldn't he be healing you if you're such a great follower of Christ? That is not the point. That is not the point. Christ was healing those people there. The Apostle Paul and all the other apostles, they were healing the people around them. So people could understand. That was the origin of Christianity. What are you going to... You need miracles to kickstart it. And I've had miracles in my life. As I told you. You say, oh, well, shouldn't he be healing you? He absolutely healed me of the pain I said was the one that was keeping me miserable, that made me hate my life. He redeemed me of all of that. He fulfilled my life just magnificently. And I look over here, and I moved over here just to kind of get a different angle of the beauty behind me. But then there's, I don't know if you can see that, right in front of me, bunch of grapevines. Jesus is the vine. And those who he touches, we are the sweet fruit. We are the sweet grapes. And the ones who turn away from him are like poison ivy or poisonous berries. Don't let the poison of this world corrupt you. You don't need anything except for enough food and water and shelter from the storms. And God will provide what you need. God may give you plenty if it's something that you need to go through. I know I talk about her a lot because I really look up to her. A very devout Christian woman who is the only one who's been born again in this area that I know. And she went from trailer park being molested by her father and his sick friends, living in pure poverty and pure hell. And now she's rich. She has a beautiful house, a beautiful family, and best of all, she has the love of God. She's forgiven her father and his sick friends. When you ask me, it still is hard for me to accept the forgiveness of him. It still is. And that's the difference between me and her. She is closer to Christ than I am, and I have to work on that. I would hope I could forgive him. But if someone did that to my two girls, I would probably end their life. And that is exactly what Jesus warns about. Jesus warns that if we use violence and revenge and retribution, that we will be devoured by our anger. The book of Jonah is about a prophet who is devoured by his anger. What I was talking about by being redeemed and staying in a horrible situation, you have to understand that it doesn't matter the things of this earth, the material things in this world. You know, I think in that sermon, Voddie Baucham was talking about the prophet Daniel. And he was taken as a slave to Babylon, which was a beautiful city. Let me pause this for a second. Okay, a little bit more peaceful now. But Daniel was taken to Babylon. He knew he'd never be able to have children. But he was in this beautiful world. And he got close to all of the kings there because he interpreted Nebuchadnezzar's dreams. Nobody could interpret his dreams, so Daniel prayed to God, had the vision of his dream and the meaning of it. It wasn't what he wanted to hear. He would be overthrown, the king. But Daniel was held in high regards for most in the royalty through all of the changes in leadership there and that high society. And he still did not give in to the temptation to lower himself to their culture when it came to not worshiping his Lord, Yahweh. So Daniel, though he had everything to gain from just giving in, allowing himself to be devoured by that culture and just living the high life with them, and he had so much to lose too, though. Being a prophet of God, it's something that a lot of prophets don't want. We read of many prophets trying to run away. And, obviously Jonah being the biggest one. Elijah, we have Jeremiah, trying to get away from that responsibility, going and having to tell people what they don't want to hear. And I hear all the time now, oh, God is love, so anything you say that is against what we believe is not love. Do you think it was love that Jeremiah, that Daniel, that Jonah? Okay, let's take Jonah. He had to go and preach to his worst hated enemies. He'd rather die, he said over and over again. But finally, after trying to go away on a ship, trying to drown himself, getting swallowed by a large fish or whale or sea creature, and puked out on the shore. After all this stuff, he's like, fine, I'll do it. But he was angry. Most of the prophets were just scared. They're like, I'm going to be killed. Think about Elijah. And he showed up Queen Jezebel's, all the prophets that she brought in, all of the false god prophets that she brought in. And he showed them all up, and then they were all killed after a competition to show whose God is more powerful. The 400 some prophets of the false god that they worshipped, or Yahweh, the one true God. And after that, Jezebel's like, go kill him. He made a mockery of me and my false faith. Go kill him. And so Elijah ran. So we're going to be in situations that make us uncomfortable. We're going to have to say things that we don't want to say. We're going to have to do things we don't want to do. Do you think I want to be in poverty and pain all the time? Have people suffering and dying around me? Do you think I want that? Do you think I want to see my kids corrupted by a culture that is so sickening, that they sexualize kids at a young age? You think I want that? We're in Babylon right now. We're slaves in Babylon. We just don't know it. Because as long as we have our entertainment, as long as we have the foods loaded with all kinds of crazy additives, as long as we have the medication to numb us, or the drugs to numb us, we're fine. It's all good. We'll just exist. We'll just exist and have no meaning in our life. Or you can go and find the ultimate meaning. But it ain't easy getting there. Because you have to surrender. And I know most of you ain't ready to surrender. Because I sure as hell, it took 13 years of torture before I was. So I'm not judging. 13 years is a long time. And I do mean systematic torture. You know, it started with just the disability and losing my ability to provide for my family. And that's bad enough. But then it is suicides of ones you love. It is deaths of one you love. It is suffering in every imaginable way of the ones you love. And every time you have to deal with that, you're sitting there wondering how you're going to pay the bills to keep the lights on or keep the roof over your head or fill in the damn blanks. It's suffering, it's torture. Just wanted to get over to this beautiful spot. So if my eyes were firmly shut during that, I understand how hard it is to give up, to finally say, FML, right? Screw this life. But embrace one from God. And if you guys don't know how to do this, please reach out to me, because I am going to preach until my skin bleeds. I'm going to be a broken record about walking in faith. So here's what you do, even before you feel the presence of God. You have to start asking yourself, and then you have to ask God, if you already have a relationship with him, going to hear his voice. Every single situation you're in, stop thinking about, oh, I'm in the drive-thru at a Wendy's. Oh, I'm in a line at the DMV. Oh, I'm in the grocery store. Oh, I'm in, I'm in the depths of hell. Everywhere you go, say, why has God brought me here? Why has God brought me to this place? Is it a lesson to learn? Is it a person to meet? It is some task I must do. And there's not going to be meaning in everything. I understand that. But there will be once you start looking for the meaning in it. And you're not going to sit there and ponder it all while, why am I in the grocery store line? No. When you're in the grocery store line, be like, is this gentleman in front of me, does he look like he needs someone to talk to? Is he having a bad day? Does he need to have someone compliment him? Or does this lady need to have someone tell her that, her dress looks nice today, or you might get in trouble for that, but give her some kind of compliment. And give them kindness. Maybe that's all you're there for. Maybe you're there to talk about God while you're waiting for an hour to get through a line in the drugstore. I don't know. But every single place, try to figure it out. And it will come to you. It will. It will dawn on you once you start hearing his voice, once you start seeing those signs, it will dawn on you. And it will all be clear finally. It will all be crystal clear. That's what it means to be redeemed, when you finally have an intimate relationship with the author of life. No matter what situation you're in. I love you all so much. God bless you.